For this episode, I will be sharing with you guys my first 2-5 session since the start of this Bankroll challenge. Since the start of my Bankroll challenge, I always had this plan in my mind that I would start by playing 1-3 or smaller and until my bankroll hit $5,000, at which point I would move up to playing 2-5. And at this point, right before the session you're about to watch, that was where my bankroll was at. I just hit slightly over $5,000. So I decided to go to Great Canadian Casino and play a session of 2-5. Was very excited to do that. And let's go to the hands and see how it all plays out. The table has collectively decided to go with a mandatory under the gun straddle. So we are now playing 2-5-10. This hand, I pick up Queen 10 of clubs on the button. Everyone folds to me and I open to $30. Only the small blind calls. It's heads up into a flop of 10-8-3 rainbow. The villain checks. Great flop hitting top pair. I c-bet for $25. The villain calls. The turn is a 3. The villain checks again. 3x does improve to trips here, but I'm thinking it's essentially a brick, as it's most likely too loose to be defending here with a 3. I decide to continue betting for value, targeting mainly 8x and draws. I bet $60. And the villain folds. This hand, I pick up Ace-Jack at under the gun +1. But with the mandatory straddle, I'm actually first to act. I open to $30. We get 4 callers. It's 5-handed into a flop of Jack 7-3 rainbow. The action checks to me. It wasn't ideal to get so many callers, but I managed to hit what I'd say is one of the best flops for my hand. Top pair, top kicker. In a multi-way pot, I'm just going to target weaker Jack X holdings, as most hands weaker than that will likely be out of here. I c-bet for $50. The low jack immediately raises to $150. Everyone folds back to me. At this stack depth, I'm pretty much just looking to get it all in. The only question is either jamming now or roping the villain in on the turn. He does have around $600 behind. I think 3-bet raising here is super strong and could allow the villain to get away with Jack X. But if I just call and let the villain commit more chips with a turn bet, he might think that he's priced in. I decide to go with the latter option and just call. The turn is a board pairing 3, the perfect card. I check. The villain bets out $225. I follow through with my plan and check raise all in. The villain does not look happy, which is a very good sign. He tanks for a bit, and now I'm really rooting for a call, as it's looking so much like Jack X. After more tanking though, he finds the fold. This hand, I pick up Ace-King in the hijack position. I open to $30. The cutoff and straddler calls. It's 3-way into a flop of King 5-6 rainbow. The straddler checks. I hit top pair, top kicker again on a dry board. Just seems like a run good session. I c-bet for $30. The cutoff jams all in with his relatively short stack. The straddler folds. Not much to do here but snap call. The turn is a 5 and river is a 6. We table our hands and I lose this one to 4-7 for the rivered straight. Well played, sir. This hand, I pick up Queen 4 of diamonds on the button. The hijack open limps, and the action is on me. Having only showdown strong hands so far, I decide to take advantage of my image and position. I raise it to $50 to either take it down now or isolate and take it down later in position. And everyone folds. This hand, I pick up Jack Queen of Hearts in the hijack position. Under the gun +1, who is first to act because of straddle, limps. The action folds to me and I raise it to $40. The big blind, straddler, and limper calls. It's 4-way into a flop of Ace Queen 9 rainbow. Everyone checks to me. With only second pair in a multi-way pot, I check back. The turn is a 3, essentially a brick. The big blind now leads out for $60. Under the gun calls, +1 folds. With this action, I don't think my hand ever stands a chance here being good. I lay this one down. This hand, I pick up Queen 4 of clubs on the button. Everyone folds to me and I open to $30. Only the straddler calls. It's heads up into a flop of Ace Ace 9 with 2 hearts. The villain checks. I completely miss, but this is not a bad board for my range, as if the villain completely missed, a small bet in these spots are usually good enough to take it down. I c-bet for $25. The villain calls. The turn is a 5. The villain checks again. I have a decision to make here. I can continue with my aggression with a big bet, as I do unblock the hard draw. But at this point, I have been quite active with raising pre-flop. Players might be in the mode now to play back by trapping or calling me down. I decide to slow down, essentially giving up this pot. The river is a brick. The villain checks again. Too late now to turn my hand into a bluff. I just check back and hope I'm beating a hard draw lower than queen high. The villain tables pocket tens. Well played, sir. This hand, I pick up pocket jacks at the cutoff. The hijack opens to $30 and the action is on me. This villain has been quite loose. He has been opening very wide and jamming with random draws. I decide to 3-bet to isolate, or even get everything in pre-flop should he decide to 4-bet jam. I raise it to $75. Everyone folds except for the hijack, who calls. It's heads up into a flop of 5-6 queen with 2 diamonds. The villain goes all in for almost 2x the pot. I think for a little bit, Queen X could play this way, but I think that if this villain had any strong Queen X, he would have been all in pre-flop already. On a board with a lot of draws, this villain could be jamming with any pair or any draw with his range. I make the call, and we go to a run out. The turn is an ace, and the river is a 7. We table our hands, and I lose this one to 5-6 of hearts. Well played, sir. This hand, I pick up King 9 in the big blind, or in this case, the second blind. Everyone folds to me, and I decide to call. The straddler, or third blind, raises to $35. This player seems relatively young compared to the rest of the table, and I think plays solid and knows position ranges well. With this read, I decide to defend with my hand, as he can simply be attacking my limp on the second blind. I call. It's heads up into a flop of King Queen 8 rainbow. I hit top pair, which is great, but being out of position against the aggressor, I start with a check. The villain c-bets for $40. This is a board that hits his range, and going with my read that he's a solid player, I'm expecting a c-bet. No need for me to check raise though, as if he does have a value hand that can call, it would usually be one that beats me, and I don't have much to protect against. So, on a board that should favor his range, I just call to keep his bluffs in. The turn is a 7, essentially a brick. I check again. The villain bets $115. I'm still following through with my plan. The board still favors the villain's range in theory, which merits a second barrel. I'm most likely check calling all the way on a clean runout, like a board pairing river or low card. I call. The river is a 6, which should be another brick. With all the same reasoning from before, I don't think leading out for value would make any sense, as there isn't any hand to properly target. Even Queen X could make a pretty easy laydown, but if the villain needs to bluff, and I want to feed him the rope for the third barrel, as I'm reading this villain as capable of pulling that trigger, I check. He thinks for a bit, and then checks. I table my hand, and not surprisingly, I'm good here. Here are the results of the session you just watched. It wasn't a very long session. Apparently, the 2-5 games at Great Canadian Casino, they don't run for very long, and they end up breaking pretty early, which is a shame. For this session, I'm pretty happy with how I played for the most part. There were some runouts that didn't go my way, so ended up in a loss, and you'll see the exact numbers somewhere around here, which brings my total bankroll to this number you see right here. And that is it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys look forward to the next.